On this episode of On the Bridge, I'm chatting with Ed Thomas from Jim Marine and Paragon Studio. I wanted to chat with him about his transition from working on super yachts to becoming a business owner. Hi, Ed. Thank you for welcoming us to this amazing studio space.
Thank you very much.
Sorry for basically hijacking your Wednesday.
That's okay. We're loving having you here. This setup is awesome.
Great.
Yeah.
Thanks to Joe from Kindful Creative for being awesome. Okay, let's start from the beginning of your journey in yachting. So you originally worked on yachts.
I did, yes. I can actually take you right back to the very, very, very beginning.
Okay, let's go right back. Get comfortable.
The first yacht that I worked on was a 75-meter Protexan.
Okay.
And I tried for months to get a job in Antigua, couldn't get on at all. And eventually, they finally relented and let me on. And I was the night shift rinse down technician.
Wow.
So I'd go out on my own.
That sounds a lovely job.
It's a hell of a job title. But when you first get started and you're so excited about getting a job on a boat,
Sure.
This is like, it's really exciting.
How old were you when you did this?
21, I think.
Okay,
20
so
or
perfect
21.
age then.
Yeah. And it was essentially, I would wake up at 11 and I'd be sent out on my own with a head torch on. And it would be my job to rinse and dry the entire 75-meter yacht from top to bottom on my own.
Wow.
Someone would leave me some lunch in the fridge, which I'd have at around 3 a.m. on my own, heated up. And then I'd go to bed at around 5. And then they'd let me out for a couple of hours in the afternoon in the sun, just so I didn't wilt away like an old dying plant. And then I'd be back to bed. So, yeah, it was a tough job. And needless to say, I didn't like it very much. And I didn't pass my probation. I got fired.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the end because you did work on another yacht.
I did, yeah. So
that didn't make you think yachting wasn't for you then?
it was a poor start. So then I came back to London and sort of licking my wounds a bit. But then eventually a friend who I'd been on my day skipper course with in the Solent rang me up and said, would you like to come and join a really nice fed ship? And we then ended up doing quite a few seasons on there together and
Nice.
doing just some amazing travels. And it was a much different experience and
Sure.
Slightly smaller, slightly more family oriented. And I absolutely loved it. And that was the start I really needed as crew, I think.
And so how long were you working on yachts before you then decided that actually you wanted to move ashore?
Not an enormous amount of time, to be honest. I think I want to say I started in 2011. All these dates get quite hazy, to be honest, because it does feel like it's quite a long time ago now. And I started Jim Marine in October 2014, so not a huge amount of time.
Okay, so that's good. That leads me on to the next point then. So you were working on yachts, and did you come up with an idea, or did you think, I just want to go back shore and then think about starting a company?
Well, I mean, in the typical sort of vein of people who become entrepreneurs, I didn't like the institutional nature of yachting that much. The sort of constantly being at the beck and call of others, and to a certain extent the hierarchical element of working on a yacht. If you've not worked on a yacht for a sustained period of time as crew, it's very hard to understand what it's like working on a yacht with the sort of the atmosphere and the sort of intricacies of how crew and senior crew interchange with each other. And it's definitely for some people and not for others. And it definitely wasn't for me, to be perfectly honest.
It's a confined space also, isn't it?
Yeah.
There has to be such a strong structure.
There are
everything.
Certain things that you think now when I talk about them, I feel like, oh, this is really quite trivial. But like not being able to choose what would be on the TV during meal times was really jarring. Like you'd come down and sit down and want to have your meal, which was your like 10 minutes to have a little bit of a break. And someone would be watching some sort of weird, obscure cartoon in Bulgarian or something. You're like, I just really don't want to be watching this.
Sure.
Things like that. And then there's also the normal stuff about missing birthdays and missing weddings and stuff like that. But if that's what you sign up for, you get paid handsomely for it, and it is a bit of an adventure.
But you knew it wasn't going to be for you forever then?
No, I don't think so. I'm from quite an entrepreneurial family and had always sort of seen my dad and my cousins and uncles all sort of running businesses successfully, thought that I was going to do something. The sort of things that really started Jim Marine, there are a few sort of backstories, one of which I've talked about many, many times. We had some dumbbells on the sun deck of a motor yacht I worked on, a 55-meter fed ship. And I would be sent up to clean them every night because they would rust like you wouldn't believe it. Anyway, unbeknownst to me at the time and the other deck crew, they were nickel plated,
Right.
like 2 microns of nickel. It's not a lot. And we were scraping it off with our extremely abrasive stainless steel polish, revealing the mild steel below. But anyway, and it kind of leads me on to this, because obviously here we have what is the evolution of the story. But these
Yeah.
dumbbells back on the boat would rust. They'd be completely orange. And then I'd have to cling film them every evening. I'd come down and they'd be orange again. So that got me,
Cling film them.
yeah, to keep the moisture out.
Oh, I see.
So
Oh
we'd
my
cling film them,
goodness.
put them inside, try and make sure that they were, saved from the elements,
What a
and they just
nightmare.
weren't. And then in another shipyard, we had a boat next door to us, a CRN, where they would have the equipment on the sun deck. And after every season, it seemed they would chuck it all away and then replace it,
By new.
thinking, one, bad choice of equipment, two, ka-ching.
Yeah,
You know.
exactly.
My yachting career finished with I worked on a 45-meter, and we ended up having a bit of an accident on the boat. It was being lifted onto the side of a lift-on, lift-off vessel to come over the Atlantic, and for whatever reason, the crane failed, and the 45-meter yacht fell about 5 or 6 meters from the straps onto the deck, and put somewhere probably a 7-meter hole in the keel. It was pretty horrendous. And at that point, because of how the boat was being stabilized, they had ballast on one side of the ship because they were lifting the yacht on the other side. So then the ship was listing, and we were all evacuated ashore in Martinique for 10 hours with no phones and no passports, and sat there. And then eventually they righted the ship and welded a big steel box over the hull, filled it with concrete. Sailed
And
back.
off you went.
Yeah, well, they sailed back to Genoa. We all went back on the plane, obviously, and then we got back to Genoa, and then we were in the shipyard in Genoa for 12 months. Anyone that's spent any time as crew in Genoa will know that that's not that fun. And the captain at that point said, "Look, guys, you're here. We've got a bit of work to do, keeping the thing going, but it's not going to be a busy season. If you want to do anything else, learn a language, learn an instrument, now's the time." And so I thought, well, I'm going to put the wheels in motion for this business, doing gyms on boats, which I've been thinking about, which is great.
So you already had it in your mind for a few months or whatever.
Yeah.
You'd seen these little things that you thought, there's an opportunity there. So then what did the transition look like from your captain saying, look, we've got a bit of free time. Why don't you, take up a hobby or something? Because that's actually the perfect way to start a business, right? Because you're still being paid and you can sort of really get things in place before you then take that leap. So then what did that transition look like to come ashore?
Well, I was pretty lucky. So I'd had this idea and had chatted to my current business partner at Jim Marine, Guy, about it a few times. He was working for BWA, the agency at the time. And we'd always said we were going to do something together, which was in part actually a payment of a debt, because he bought me many, many rounds of drinks when I was a junior crew member. But that's another
So
story.
you owed him.
Yeah, I owed him
Food
something. I said, I
royalties.
can't pay you back for these drinks, but what I can do is give you,
I've
a
got a
certain
great idea.
percentage of this company that I'm going to
Yeah.
come with. Anyhow, but I was lucky. So I set up a Facebook page at the time. Facebook was all the rage.
Right,
FB,
yeah.
let's get it. And a really bad website, which I made using one of those free website builder things on the crew mess table, and sort of did some posts. And
But what actually at that point was Jim Marine doing? Were you selling equipment, or were you looking to design gyms or
selling gym
consult or-
equipment.
Right, so
I'd-
that's how it initially started.
Yeah, so that was the thing. We were going to sell gym equipment to yachts. I felt that it was a part of the overall offering which was lacking. The boats had everything else. They had great water toys, massage rooms, everything else. But the gyms were all pretty poor. They were old grey equipment. It lived out on the sun deck. There wasn't really. It just seemed like it was plonked in the room. So I thought, well, we'll have a go at trying to do a bit of a better job of this.
Sure.
I sold my first rowing machine on the dock in Imperia. And I was really excited about it. It was great. We sold a rowing machine to the boat that was next door to the one I was working on and everything. And I organised for a supplier to deliver it from the UK to the boat. And they took the payment, and then they were going to pay me a commission and something, until I realised I'd sold it at the wrong price, and I ended up losing about £35. So that was a good start. We've got better at
Never
selling.
made that
since then.
mistake.
almost daily.
They do say the best way to learn is failing. So
Yeah, but very fortunately, I was really lucky. Boat International saw the website that I'd built
Yeah.
and the social media account and got in touch and said, "Hey, look, we really like this idea, and we really want to support young entrepreneurs in the industry. We'd like to give you some tickets to the Monaco Yacht Show in 2014, and we're
Yeah.
going to do a whole feature spread in the magazine and in Dockwalk on yacht gyms." I was like,
Wow.
wow. He said, "Can you send us some pictures of some gyms you've done?" I said, "No, not at all." But then I'm like, do I tell them I've not done any? Don't know. Anyway, so it was really great. And they sort of got us going. We went to the yacht show and we picked
Yeah.
up some of our first clients there, new build clients and everything. And then that was what really prompted me to be like, okay, I'm going to stop working on
Yeah.
yachts as crew and start working on this business full time. So that was the move back to my parents' house and give it a go.
And so what did that look like structure-wise for the business at the time? Did you borrow money? Did you get funding? Had you saved some money? Or were you just selling a bit of equipment, making a bit of money,
Yeah,
selling a bit of equipment?
exactly. You get a bootstrapped approach from
Right.
beginning to end. I mean, Jim Marine and Paragon to date have never had any external funding. We've bootstrapped absolutely everything
Yeah.
and grown organically, which is a really, really nice way to do business. It's a responsible way to do business as well. You reward yourself for on the basis of your success, and then you look to scale within the parameters of what is reasonable and sensible, which is a really nice way to scale, but can be quite slow and labor intensive.
And also responsibility, because ultimately, if you're the only one controlling the money and putting money in, it means it can be quite frustrating at times when you could see that maybe you could grow, but you don't have the money to grow. But okay, so you started Jim Marine in 2014, did you say? Okay, so what other challenges did you face when you went all in as an entrepreneur and you were like, yacht crewing has gone to the side now, I'm now business owner? What would you say were the hardest things apart from money?
Well, yeah, it's that's obviously going to be the obvious answer, I'd say. It's quite a big adjustment coming ashore from working on yachts, and this isn't just for people doing as a business owner. People coming to any job, coming ashore is really, really challenging. You've gone from essentially you are as crew living somewhat in the lap of luxury. Someone else is paying for your toothbrush. You're being cooked for 3 times a day by a professional chef.
Your washing.
Your washing's done for you, all this kind of stuff. You're not paying any tax. It's quite a good gig. And then to come ashore and have to sort of reintegrate into the real world at the same time as starting a company and not having any guaranteed income is kind of a challenge. So you touched on this point a minute ago. When I do interviews like this one and podcasts and things, one of the questions that always comes up is, do you have any advice to people starting up? Is that on your list? Any advice?
It might be.
Yeah. It's a good one.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, well, I'm
actually not interested in your advice.
I don't know why I'm here, to be honest. This interview's a sham. No, yeah, it's always
don't do it.
It's not don't do it.
Stay working on boats, earn all the money, don't pay tax.
It's kind of from the experience of if you're gonna start a business, at least try and do a bit of proof of concepting while someone else is still paying your salary.
That's what I was saying. You were in a great position.
Yeah.
In my eyes, if someone says to me, I want to start a business, and I always say, you stay employed for as long as possible.
Yeah, right until
you fill up that cup with your training, your knowledge, testing the product, finding who your customer is, building your social media on someone else's time. And then as soon as you get to the point where the business really needs you full time, what a great time to leave.
That being said, Alicia, for any of my staff listening upstairs, if you're moonlighting another business, that's not okay. We're going to have words.
Yeah, and any of my staff also. Bad advice.
Okay, good.
Okay, so the challenges really were then sort of across the levels of not only were you coming home and moving in with your parents and going from sort of living quite a fun boaty life of being with your pals and
really fun.
You're coming home, you're learning how to be independent again, you're paying bills again, and then you're starting a business with a business partner, just the two of you, trying to do at the start of a business, you're always doing every job, right? You're wearing every hat, you're learning about accounting, you're learning about marketing, you're learning about supply.
They are the challenges. I will say that one thing that being yacht crew, it's a really good transferable skill set in as much as when you're on a boat, you are asked to wear lots of different hats. And when something's thrown at you as yacht crew, be it a weather-based situation or something breaking or a difficult guest, or you do face a lot of challenges that get thrown at you where you have no experience,
Sure.
and you develop this real can-do attitude. We have to get this done because otherwise this is just the service we're delivering, and that transfers well into entrepreneurship.
Definitely.
I find day to day here, I probably sound like I know what I'm talking about a whole host of stuff, which I'm probably still only doing for the first or second time. And that's
Yeah.
part of the skill of running a business or trying to be a leader, is to, being able to be a chameleon and take on new stuff that you never thought you'd be able to. And yacht crew careers really set you up for that.
Yeah, agreed. I think however many years you are into business, there's still days where I wake up and think, I don't even know, what I'm doing. And I just go and teach myself, or now I just find someone in my circle who would know and I call them
Yeah.
and get advice. But at the start, yeah, no one gives you a handbook. Someone should write that handbook, actually. Okay, tell me some of the things that are considerations when you're designing or installing a luxury gym on a yacht.
The basics to start with, the aesthetics. What's the wish list for the client? What kind of training are they doing? What's the usage of the yacht's gym? So there's a little bit of a difference between a gym on board a charter yacht and a
Yeah.
private yacht. The charter yacht's more akin to a hotel gym, whereas a private yacht's always going to be more tailored to the individual and their own plan, and they might have a trainer who they bring on board from elsewhere, and they're going to have an input. That's got to then be juxtaposed with the uniqueness of a floating environment, which is where you're talking about sea fastening, how that might impact the usage of the equipment itself. Transfer of vibrations through into other spaces is particularly important. Our treadmills have extremely low frequency from the thud, thud, thud of people's feet. You don't want that above the master cabin.
You don't.
Not in the morning. That's going to make for a guest.
Your
being
name
shocked
would
off.
be Blue Murder.
Yeah.
The owners being kept awake by crew using the treadmill too loudly.
That's it. And then we've got stuff on the outside that's going to rust. Enter our marine grade stainless steel dumbbells with oak or teak handles. Perfect for the marine environment. Paragon Studio, look them up.
We're going to come on to that in a minute. What about managing clients' expectations? Because when you were working on board, you had then exposure to the type of owner, charter guest, who then became a client for Jim Marine. So you actually had a bit of an opportunity to do some free client research, or at least maybe not client research, but you understood what type of individual would hire a yacht or buy a yacht.
Yeah, I think understanding the level of service that's required from having experienced the end user type myself on a number of different yachts, but then also having experienced what it takes to deliver that end user experience when you're face to face with that person on their boat during their holiday, which is what you get as crew. So then to take yourself one step back into an office and being the person on the end of the phone, it makes it a little bit easier because you understand what the crew are going through, having been there yourself and knowing that, it might seem like that this request is ridiculous, but you can picture the charter guest jumping up and down about the fact that they can't watch Bloomberg standing next to the treadmill rather than running on it, or whatever the latest ridiculous request is. And, at the time, that was a really, really brilliant benefit for me, and helped me a lot to be able to speak in the language of the captains and crew we were dealing with, and promote the fact that I understood the business and how it worked a bit more.
Okay, so that moves us on then. So Jim Marine was established, successful business. You'd cut your teeth on that, learn a few things about business.
Yeah.
And then you launched Paragon Studio, which is where we are today, which
That's
is
right.
a beautiful space. And Paragon Studios focuses on residential and luxury gym equipment. Where did the idea come from, and what makes the offering from Paragon Studios equipment range unique in the luxury market? Because it is, behind us here, it is unusually pretty for gym equipment.
It is, and that's
You have to check my bag as I leave, because I think I could probably fit a couple of those in.
it's just the lighter ones, I'd say. We don't want to break the bag. So yes, Jim Marine we've been really lucky with Jim Marine. And we have, I think to the last look, we'd done 79 of the top 100 largest yachts on earth.
Wow.
For outfitting gyms and spas as well on board now.
Yeah.
Over a period of sort of 10, 11 years, which
So
is
spas came as a sort of another add-on to
Yeah,
the design part of Jim
exactly.
Marine.
But amongst those, 79 large yachts plus the many, the 1,000 other yachts that we've worked on, one of the things that's always been the case is that interior designers and owners reps and owners teams have wanted aesthetics to improve more and more, and as part of that have wanted some level of bespoke in that. And sort of back in 2020, 2021, we were kind of at a point where we wanted to do more in terms of customization of equipment, but there wasn't really a supplier out there that was able to customize equipment that was of this kind of quality that you'd expect to see on a yacht, furniture grade wise. So I started the brand in 2021 as it was actually known as GM Custom back then, which was a terrible name. And we sort of started doing a few customizable dumbbells was the first thing, and then a bench came next and things like that. And pretty quickly I realized I really, really like doing this.
Right.
As a first and foremost, being able to design things which are uniquely our own design, doing them at whatever height, whatever shape. If you want it with pink stripes on it, we can do that, and putting the boat's name on it and all this kind of thing. That was pretty exciting. But then also having control over our supply chain, so when you're selling other people's stuff, you're kind of at the mercy of your suppliers. And one of the mantras that I've had over the years is we're only as good as our suppliers, so we've got to treat them nice. There are certain yacht crews, by the way, that could learn a thing or two from that sentence. I decided, right, we're now in control of the supply chain for this product. No one can tell us where we can sell it, what we can sell, how we can sell it, what price we need to sell it at.
So just
This
go
is
back a
ours.
step. So before Paragon Studios launched officially, you were already designing and customizing equipment, but via other companies.
Yes.
So you were getting yachts coming to you saying, we want this, but in blue and pink and whatever. And so you were utilizing other companies.
Well, we were
to do
trying
that.
within a sort of limited capability of what
Sure.
other companies could do within their own range, but not to the level of customization that we wanted to achieve for our yacht customers.
So again, you saw this hole in the
Yes.
market, a bit like you saw when you were on board,
Yeah.
seeing the hole in the market there.
But I didn't think at the time it would become its own business. And,
Okay.
now Paragon Studio was essentially a trading style of Jim Marine for a couple of years. And actually the brand has become independent. It was October the 1st, 2024.
Right.
Paragon Studios in its first year is already a bigger company than Jim Marine and is commanding a huge amount more of my time.
Sure.
And we're putting a lot of effort and time into scaling it to become the Hermes of fitness, essentially, which is where I want to get to with it. With the customer base being the Jim Marine type customer base, but also, and we are selling Paragon Studio equipment in droves onto yacht projects, but also, we're doing residential hotels, Pilates studios. We're doing.
It's also bold starting another company in 2021. The world was still a little bit on fire then.
Yeah, well, a lot of
So
people
you
had a lot of
must have-
time during lockdown for
True,
other hobbies.
True, but to start a whole nother company, again, that's still quite.
I wasn't going to make banana bread.
I can imagine you making banana bread. But
I'd be terrible at that.
The point is that there's obviously something within you that sees something and then it's like, okay, we'll do it and we'll just make it work and we'll see how it works out, rather than sort of thinking, well, I can see that there's this hole here in the market, but maybe I'll just, wait a bit. Because 2021, there were a lot of businesses that were still going out of business then.
Yeah.
So
I think that we were lucky during the COVID era in general, because we had one foot in the yacht market, which was somewhat insulated from the
pandemic.
a lot of the issues of the pandemic. There were people using yachts and still wanting to buy stuff, and we were a company that could logistically fulfill demands of needing this at this part of the world immediately, and we could still do that. So that was great. That's part of the business was relatively okay. Some of the new build projects were obviously delayed, but that was and refits, but we factored that. And then we were also in the home gym market, which during the pandemic was absolutely wild. It was like running a commodity desk. So in fact, we had a lot of stock, which we had in the warehouse during the pandemic. And we pivoted the business a little bit to do home, to be more focused on the domestic user at the time. And we put a e-commerce store on the website, and we started marketing via social media that we had home gym equipment.
Right.
And I was sitting at home with a credit card machine in one hand, and the phone rang all day for
Wow.
3 or 4 weeks, and people desperate for kettlebells, desperate
Yeah.
for yoga mats. So we were very, very fortunate to be well positioned during the pandemic with a foot in both of these two camps, and then that sort of, I guess, allowed us to have the confidence to start developing, for me to start developing this in the background.
So going back to the Paragon Studios offering equipment wise, and so what makes it different from what's offered in the market currently?
Sure. So we do a lot of customization. So this piece that's behind us is one of our more popular pieces, the wall unit. Pretty much everything on here is customizable, from the wood material used. So we're typically working with American walnut or teak or stained oak, but we've done these in mahogany. We've done them in all kinds of different stains as well. We've bleached it. We've wrapped this in wallpaper. We've done it in leather. Every one of these metal pieces you see here can be PVD coated. So these can be rose gold, copper, bronze, whatever you want. We can put the boat's logo on the end here if you want. If you're someone that wants 2.5 kilo increments, if not twos, we can do that. You can do them in pounds. So yeah, it is really creating something which is very much geared towards the end user, and it's what do you want, and we'll
And I
make it for you.
guess also you're advising people on what won't work on a boat, unlike what you saw when you were on board, equipment that wasn't fit for purpose,
Yeah,
depending on where it was going to be stored or used or whatever.
exactly. Yeah, and I think that our experience is working with interior designers, architects, and people who are trying to create what they've presented in a rendering.
Sure.
And very often it's trying to make the gym feel like the equipment is not just plonked in the gym on the floor. It's built into the structure. It's the materials that we're using on the equipment is befitting of the rest of the property. Can we integrate these pieces into joinery, and have downlit recesses, and make it really feel like it's a sculptural element in the room rather than just a bit of equipment. So that's kind of our mantra. It's really, really engaging to make this space, the wellness room, a place where people want to be seen and are proud of, and it feels like the rest of their house.
Yeah, and befitting, like you say, of their house or their boat, because if they spend £500 million on a boat and then they've got cheap, non-suitable equipment, it doesn't quite go with the flow. And same in someone's house as well, I guess.
Yeah.
They want it to
Well, it's
fit
quite.
in.
I think the phrase is zeitgeist. The zeitgeist at the moment is everything in natural tones.
Okay. The aesthetic is natural.
Everything from the gym equipment to my wardrobe.
Yeah.
We're all beige.
Not too natural, I
We're all
hope.
beige these days. No. But yeah, so gym equipment has been through an era of, I think when I started doing gym equipment in 2014, everything was kind of grey.
Mm-hmm.
And lots of
grey era just in everything.
Yeah,
Wasn't
grey,
there
brightly
furniture?
coloured logos, like big manufacturer logos everywhere. And then CrossFit came along and everything went black. It was all black, everything, powder coated. And now everything in the fitness world, at least, is moving into this sort of more wellness focused aesthetic with wood and lime wash walls.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of where we are, natural leathers, that kind of thing. So we're fitting right into that sort of aesthetic trend and trying to capitalize on that.
And do you have a range of equipment that you sort of make as a base, or you only custom?
Yeah, so we have what's known as our core product range, which is I can give you one of our catalogs, and everything is kind of built off the basis of that. So typically someone will go through the brochure and say, oh, I like the bench, but I'm a 6'8" basketball player, can we make it a bit longer? I'm like, yeah,
That's the
sure.
problem I have.
Yeah. Frequently, we don't have many of them here, but in the US people are constantly wanting
Of course,
longer
yeah,
benches.
sure.
But yeah, that's it. And then we do really custom pieces at the moment. I'm actually doing a sofa at the moment for a yacht in Miami. So we're making an outdoor sofa out of teak.
Wow.
And it's got these beautiful drawers which tuck underneath it, and all the equipment slots into custom
Lovely.
3D printed inserts, which we're flocking in a soft touch velour material, which is going to be amazing. So yeah, those
that
kind
does
of
sound amazing.
custom commissions are really fun.
So that's interesting. So what starts off as gym equipment ends up actually you becoming an interior or exterior designer, because you're fitting the equipment into the space in more than just,
Yeah,
obviously that is beautiful, but sort of hooking it up on the wall. You're now creating the space that the equipment's going to sit in and the whole aesthetic.
definitely. A lot of the Paragon Studio range is built around storage. Storage is kind of the key I guess, DNA which runs through the business, and that's kind of comes from the yacht world because of not having a lot of floor space or storage
Mm.
space in boats and in gyms in particular. I've always been very used to designing in spaces where there's not a lot of floor space and we need to think cleverly about how things are stowed. So we've designed the Paragon Studio range with a lot of sort of clever vertical storage pieces and things that integrate into other things and all the rest of it. And that's a key part of the plan going forward. For the business itself, with the core range, having a business that makes really bespoke things isn't very scalable.
Yeah,
Bespoke one-off commissions, and
sure.
I don't see long term in future that we'll be doing bespoke stuff as much. Really for the scalability, and if I one day, God forbid, would like to sell the business, we need to be doing rinse and repeat products that people want and selling them over and over and over
Yeah.
again, with the option for some customization, but not completely one-off, bespoke,
Sure.
fanciful. But I really like that bit.
I was
It's
gonna say,
really,
that's the fun
yeah,
bit,
it's
isn't it?
really fun. It's challenging,
Yeah.
but it's exciting.
But again, it links back to your experience on board, because now if you're doing a residential gym in a London home and their gym is in the basement, you are short on space. How great, because you have all that knowledge and that design insight into creating a special space on a boat, which then translates into a small home gym and a beautiful house in the basement in London. So it
Yeah,
served you well,
yeah, and
even
it's
if
a
it was
USP.
traumatizing being up all night rinsing bags.
Being the guy that says yes to most requests is kind of a USP at the moment, for sure. It's a good.
Okay.
Can you
I'll
do
mention
this?
that to your wife
Ah,
before we leave. Thanks for watching this episode so far. We have some great guests coming up, and we wouldn't want you to miss any of those future episodes. So please don't forget to click the subscribe button and enjoy the rest of this episode. Okay, so what's been so Paragon Studios over the last few months has done loads of amazing collaborations.
yeah, love
What's
that.
been your favorite collaboration, and what's been your favorite project that you've worked on?
Gosh. I think the project that I've been most proud of for Paragon this year has been the project we've just finished with a fashion brand called Golden Goose. So we were chosen by their team to help them design a really bespoke piece of joinery for a paddle club in Milan.
Nice.
And it's a members club above a paddle club. And we created this amazing fitness wall, sort of appointed like this, and every piece was branded with the Golden Goose star. And it was hidden by a curtain. So the space is a members lounge, an event space, and then they pull the curtain back and it separates the room in half, and then that becomes a fitness studio using our
Wow.
kit. And we're doing co-branded classes with them now, which is really cool.
And they'd approached you to do that?
Yeah.
Wow. So
Which-
that was off your reputation and what you've been putting out in the industry.
Yeah, exactly. We're really
Cool.
lucky with the aesthetic and the way that I've sort of presented the brand, that people are coming to us more and more for these types of collaboration. We've got a fantastic event coming up in here on Friday. We've got a skiing brand called My Sunday Ski coming
I
in.
love my Sunday.
Yeah.
ski.
So I
Yeah.
know the founders, Cassie and Ellie. I went to school with Ellie's husband, and they are bringing in 15 of their influencers who I think have a cumulative following of over 10 million.
Wow.
And we're doing a fitness class here called Slope Sessions, where they're all going to be exercising in the skiing underlayers.
You're going to hate every minute of it.
I'm
aren't you?
banned. I'm going to be upstairs. It's women only. Adriana's our brand manager's.
I
Gonna
think
be in
that's
charge.
safer that way, Andrea.
Yeah. Yeah, we're going to have to go out for a long lunch. But no, it's going to be great. So these kinds of things are really, really fun.
Yeah. They're great brands.
And they do. We did a really cool event with MAC Makeup in the city the other day, where they borrowed a load of our equipment for the launch of a new foundation. Again, I was really out of place at this event, Alicia, to be honest.
I'm surprised you're allowed to go.
It was quite funny. So I decided to go in the afternoon. I took Ben from our sales team and Seb, our new GM, and the three of us boys walked up to the door, and the security went, "Are you guys here for the MAC
Are you
event?"
in the right place?
Yeah, you're like, okay. And then we walked in, and I've never felt like such a fish out of water. It was hilarious. But but off the back of that, we've now been contacted by a major global luxury fashion brand who want to replicate that, but in a much more different sense in January, which is pretty cool. So yeah, it's great. I mean, there will be a time where I'm going to have to stop saying yes to all these crazy things, but they're really good fun.
Yeah,
So,
and how great for the brand in itself to have such exposure
definitely.
away from sort of gym people and away from super yachts. It's a whole different
For sure.
sort of avenue.
And
Isn't it?
that's kind of one of the strategies that I have is I don't want Paragon Studio to be seen necessarily. This is quite confusing, but I don't want to see it as a gym brand. We don't want to be in the same sentence as other mainstream gym brands.
Equipments, yeah.
I want Paragon Studio to be seen more as a fashion accessory. We want to be the Hermes, the Moncler, the kind of, something which is laughably luxurious and expensive, but is desirable and aspirational.
Sure.
And that's why we're really laser focusing on this sort of luxury niche. There's a lot of brands out there in the gym space who are, who will say, well, we do luxury fitness equipment, which is fine, but then your equipment's also on Virgin Voyages.
Yeah.
We're not going to be on Virgin Voyages.
Yeah.
I love Virgin Voyages, by the way. Sorry, Richard Branson.
But it's not your clientele that you're in.
No.
It's not who you're aiming for.
No, it's not. And I think you've got to stay pretty true to
100%.
your niche. And
well, even though it's quite tempting sometimes, what it can do is dilute actually what you're trying to do.
yeah,
Once you do that, it's difficult to get back to that original core concentration.
and you guys have done that with your business really well. You're
But
really on
it's
core mission, aren't
been
you?
loads of times over the years we've been approached. We still get approached now for people to put things into our software. And sometimes I think that would be a great fit. But then I think it's diluting what we're doing. And it is hard, especially if there's a financial reward to it. But if you stay true and you believe in what you're doing, then yeah, you have to stay focused on it.
And to use one of my really tragic catchphrases,
Oh, God.
niche. It's
We-
just nice with an H in it.
We can cut that out.
Great.
Okay, as a founder and business owner of multiple businesses, what have been the biggest challenges you found in leadership, growth, and scaling the brands? Bear in mind, you had no experience before you started Jim Marine,
Absolute
being
zero.
a manager or a leader or, leading a team. Maybe a little bit on the boats, did you?
No.
No,
really.
okay.
No.
Absolutely
And
zero.
what's more, you're being led on the boats by people who've also got no management experience,
Often, yes.
which is wild because people in yachting will, make their way up to these amazing positions where they're in charge of these huge budgets, and you're essentially running a small company as the captain of a yacht
Definitely.
with an amazing power to spend money and buy really expensive, really risky things or put yourself in dangerous situations. And you get there with nowhere near the amount of training that the same people handling the same budgets in the city will have.
Yeah.
And on the way up, obviously, that you're learning on the job. So management training in yachting is something that I think they're probably doing more.
I think now it is definitely much more common
Yeah.
because of the realization, like you say, that running a 60, 70, 80 meter, 90 meter boat you are the CEO of someone's company
Yeah.
and you are responsible for 50 people's lives.
What I find always
which is
very funny,
serious.
difficult when we're dealing with boats, is that it's the most complicated environment in the world to operate in with regards to international tax law.
Yeah.
And you're trying to work out with the housekeeping stewardess whether or not they should be avoiding tax on 15 yoga mats going halfway across the world. And, we're quite qualified. I'm like, how on earth are these junior crew members supposed to know about tax law and
Well, we don't know about
customs law and stuff like that when we're sitting in our office like, scratching our heads with like 9 of us in the Slack channel trying to work out whether or not we should be charging tax. And it's really a complicated skill set.
Okay, so then for you,
What are we talking about?
The transition of you going from being you and your friend starting out,
Yeah.
then we've also personally been in a situation where when you grow, you suddenly have more people to manage, recruiting, scaling a business, finding the money. Do you spend it on this? Do you spend it on that? So what would you say you found is difficult? All of the above?
I think specifically around Jim Marine, you have, as soon as you have a little bit of success as a business in the yacht industry, a lot of people start trying to sell you stuff, advertising, consultancy, and navigating that's quite difficult. There's a part of me that finds the feeling that you ought to be doing all of these events all the time in the yachting industry as a business owner. And if you're not doing them, you're not being seen. So no one who knows who you are, I think is totally preposterous and is totally counterproductive for startups trying to get amongst it in the yachting scene. I was always the first person to try and do social media based stuff and try and, create our own buzz. And I was always much more a proponent with growing Jim Marine of jumping on a plane and walking the docks along the whole
Yeah.
Riviera with my flyers and my trainers, rather than, sending £10,000 to a magazine and hoping that someone would see our article. But you do really, particularly at the moment, it feels like, as this is a very well-trodden point, but there is a yachting event or forum or seminar or webinar or something that you absolutely have to go to, or your name will be mud in the yachting industry forever, almost every week.
Yeah.
And that's really difficult as a business owner to navigate, because
I think definitely as a startup, like
Yeah.
it's a conversation we were just having this morning, that people fearmonger you into thinking if you don't go, people think you're going bust. And I think,
I've not been to the Monaco Yacht Show for 5 years.
oh, all right, don't boast.
tried.
I wish.
I tried to go once and my flight got turned round
No.
due
I
to weather.
think
I've never been so relieved.
You have to, and it is really hard as a startup, but you have to have a belief in yourself, what is value to you.
Yeah.
And you could be on a plane every single week, and you could be at a show every single week, or forum, or whatever it is every week. But I also think that you have to know yourself. You have to make that decision, not be influenced. And it is difficult because, like you say, there are a lot of people in the industry, I'm sure it's the same in many industries, that want to give you their advice. And I always look at them and think, but I wouldn't want to be doing what you're doing, so I don't want your advice.
No.
I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. And if I'm wrong, I'll learn from it, and then I'll learn a lesson. But I do think the older you get and the further you get in, you care a lot less. Like now,
Yeah.
I really could
I also
care
do
less.
one
but
thing
it's
that
difficult at the start.
I do feel as well that for me in my 20s, it was really great because it was very much a lifestyle thing. I was really enjoying going to all the events
Yeah.
and seeing people and all that kind of thing, and it was really fun. But then you get to a point where you start going to these events and you're like, am I working here, or am I just kind of on holiday? And the business is paying for me to be here. I've realized I've been to this show in Italy, Monaco, Amsterdam, whatever. I spent the whole week walking around drinking beer on people's stands, catching up with people who aren't really getting me to where I need to go. The trips cost €3,000 to €5,000, and I've come home and I'm like, what am I doing here? We're working in a completely different world with Paragon Studio. And this kind of hit home to me last year when I decided on a whim to go to the Fort Lauderdale boat show. We're really focused with Paragon Studio on marketing through Meta. So everything that we do is marketing funnel led, with social ads, lead gen campaign with a very, very clear cost per acquisition and conversion funnel. So I know exactly what, if I put £1 in, what I'm going to get out, which is amazing. I went to the Fort Lauderdale Yacht Show. Probably cost for two of us to be there somewhere in the region of $7,000 to $8,000, whatever. There I was walking around Rybovich like the Ed of old, ringing doorbells, door-to-door selling. I think we came away with one inquiry for some yoga mats. I thought to myself, if I'd just given this $8,000 to Mark Zuckerberg and stayed at home, we know exactly what that would have turned into in terms of profit.
Yeah.
But I've had a great week, and I've drunk the same glass of wine with the same people who were there last year, who were there the year before.
Which is fine
the
if
same
you want
party.
to do that, but that actually isn't always conducive of growing the business. There are people in the world who enjoy going, and their business pays for them to be there, and they enjoy that social. For me, a holiday is not being near a boat.
No.
I don't want to see a boat. I don't want to talk about a boat. I certainly don't want to be walking around, having the conversations that you have at a boat show. But I do get why people do it. But the problem is getting to the point where you can differentiate that.
Yes.
And I think at the start, there's so much pressure with people telling you what you should be doing. And often those people don't really know, but they feel that it's right for them to tell you, which is interesting.
No, and there's also there's this part, I remember I was talking to someone about this the other day, actually, another business owner, where you're sort of, if you sponsor this, then this might happen type relationships. And you end up sort of doing things or gifting things, or, having to pay for a campaign or sponsor an event with the sort of vague promise that it might lead to something else. And it's kind of at the beginning sifting through how genuine some of these opportunities are as a startup business owner in an industry where it looks very glitzy from the outside, and the people you're talking to seem very important, but you never know whether it's going to result in anything.
And also knowing your brand, right? So you've been very clear with Paragon Studio from the start what you're trying to achieve, and it is tempting along the way. Oh, there's this event or that event. But if you are clear on what you're trying to achieve, 9 times out of 10, those types of things are not relevant.
Yeah.
And if you stay clear, then you're not wasting money. And sometimes things just don't work out. Even, we were talking about marketing this morning. Sometimes campaigns just don't get the results that you're hoping for. But at least you have tried your hardest. You're not wasting money here, there, and everywhere.
Definitely. I think that any company's got to have it. It just comes back to the core mission. Is this core mission? Is it not? Does this help us get towards our goal?
Yeah.
And if you've got a sort of, it's quite business speak 2.0, but the North Star goal, where am I trying to get to? Every decision, does this help me get there or not? And if the answer is no, then
And
it's
the same with who you work with.
Yeah.
You know, getting approached all the time with companies and individuals who have great ideas. And I think I often say, your idea is great. It just doesn't suit us. It's not that it's a bad idea. It's not that you're a bad person. It's not, I don't want to work with you, but it doesn't suit us. The brand has to be protected at all costs. And so that sometimes, you know, is difficult at the start, I think. But
I think in the heights of me being very involved with Jim Marine, I think I did 54 flights in 52 weeks, which in the grand scheme of the yacht business isn't that up there, but is still more than one a week.
it still has an effect on your life.
But then we had 2 small children, and now I'm kind of like, I quite like this business that I've built for myself here, because I don't actually really need to go too far from London and running what we do here. It's, you know, we're trying to move from a model where the business revolves around me developing all of the opportunities and then fulfilling the opportunities with the team, to the opportunities being generated automatically through lead gen campaigns, and putting systems in place that run themselves without me involved in them is the key aspect of trying to scale the company to a position where I could remove myself totally from it, hopefully in exchange for a huge amount of money. And then, you know, the business will continue to run itself.
Yeah.
Which is the ultimate goal.
Okay. What is the best piece of advice
Oh, here we go.
you've ever received in business or personal life, which has helped you, or are there things you'd wish you'd known before starting the business?
Well, I think I touched on this one earlier. It's when we talked about testing the market.
It's not niche, it's just nice with an H.
It's not niche, it's just nice with an H.
Cut that bit out as well.
That's a good piece of advice. I think there's an for me in my career, one of the things that I'm really proud of, and is a piece of advice that I think I've learned from other entrepreneurs, is when you want to do something, you absolutely have to just try it yourself first before spending money on getting someone else to do it for you. A lot of the stuff that we've done that's been successful here has been done on a shoestring or really badly by us in-house, and we've seen the green shoots from it before we've then gone and hired an expensive agency or consultant to do it for us. So as an example, the lead generation campaign that we use for generating inquiries for Paragon Studio, I set up myself on in the back end of Facebook, and it was just a complete horror show, but it generated so many leads. I was like, wow, this is great. If I can do this myself,
you can do it.
Imagine what an agency can do. And that's been a real core part of how we've scaled Paragon Studio in the last year. So I think as an entrepreneur, it's take the plunge, have a go yourself, trial,
What's
test.
the worst that could happen?
What's the worst that can happen? And then if, you know, it starts to look good, then, you know, build on that early success.
That's great advice. What about things you wish you'd known before you started a business?
I think
Tax.
apart from tax, only 2 constants in life. I think one thing that I really wish that I'd known, I think that I'd started thinking about earlier, is about creating systems within the business to help the business run without you. As the owner of a company, you're constantly feeling like you're at the center of a really mad sort of tornado. And everything, you know, all these processes are hinging on you, and you're trying to run the business, and you're trying to grow, but it's such a cliche statement. You're working in the business, not on the business. And I think with Jim Marine, I over a number of years grew the company, but didn't relinquish control of a lot of the processes, partly because I loved it, and partly because I thought that, you know, that was the way to do things. But on this second go, we're focusing more perhaps on the distribution rather than the product, and focusing, as I say, on creating a business where the business runs itself without me at the center of every single process. And I wish that I'd done that earlier with Jim Marine, because I think that it would have made the journey a lot more pleasurable along the way, perhaps. And I think that that's done through great hiring, but also training team members, you know, from the outset, that they have to have the accountability and the ability to go and make decisions for themselves, and you know, and then be able, and if it goes great, then fantastic, and if it doesn't go well, to be trusted that as long as you understand why it didn't go well, it doesn't happen again, then that's a good that's fine.
I feel like that's a skill that really needs polishing, though. I don't know many entrepreneurs that are good at that at the start.
No.
Most people hold on to things a touch too long
Yeah.
and say afterwards. But yeah, you've got a second run round now with Paragon Studio, and it sounds like you've learned from Jim Marine and not going to make the same. Maybe mistake's not the right word. But
It's just a different approach, I
yeah,
think, to understanding. But I think, to be honest, with Jim Marine, because it's the business that I started first. When I started it, I thought I was, that was going to be what I was going to be doing forever.
yeah,
And then we will probably have Jim Marine for another, however many years. I'm still very passionate about it and supporting Guy and
yeah.
in his work, and he's doing an absolutely amazing job with some fab projects at the moment. With Paragon Studio, I am building it in a different way. It's a different structure. It's a different type of business, and it's one which will be less dependent on me as the founder.
Perfect.
Which is exciting.
You might eventually get a day off then.
I might.
What's next then for Jim Marine and Paragon Studios? What exciting projects and campaigns and things are coming up?
Gosh, that is a great question. With Paragon Studio, it's just day-to-day excitement. We've got we've got so
That's
many.
just what your staff say about working with you.
Yeah, they all love it. It's all tattooed onto the arm. No, yeah, with Paragon Studios, some of the things that we've got coming up are truly insane, and it's collaborations, it's domestic projects. We're doing a big push into the hospitality business at the moment, which is really exciting, focusing on delivering luxury fitness and wellness experiences to guests in suites and elsewhere in the properties, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, very cool.
Jim Marine is in a really, really cool place at the moment because we are focusing very much on big yacht projects with really ambitious owners who want to create not just your average gym with a couple of bits of cardio equipment from big name Italian manufacturers.
Yeah.
They want to create stuff that is, really unique and bespoke and cool for them. So we're sort of moving away from the approach of we'll supply anything to anyone anywhere, and laser focusing on designers, owners, and build teams who are really keen on creating something special, which is not been seen before, and that's allowed us to really focus on some customer relationships, which we really, really love.
Yeah, that is exciting.
Yeah, it's cool.
Let's end on there then.
Thank you, Alicia.
Thank you so much,
Good
and
fun.
thank you for having us at your beautiful studio.
Yeah, well, it's a pleasure.
I need to see
Always
the catalogue now.
Yeah, we've got some of those.
I'm coming in on Friday for your event.
Yes, you're one of the skiers.
You don't have a choice. Thank
Cool.
you so much.